If you're starting with $0 in 2026, building wealth might feel almost impossible. But here's what most people get wrong. You don't need to be rich to start building wealth. You need a system, because the person making $100,000 a year and spending $105,000 is actually moving backward, while someone making $50,000, controlling their expenses, and consistently investing can quietly build a fortune. And no, we're not talking about getting rich overnight. We're talking about building the kind of wealth that can eventually pay your bills, buy back your time, and give you options. So if you're starting from zero, this video will show you exactly what I would do, step by step, to start building real wealth in 2026. And the first step isn't investing. It's something you need to fix before you invest a single dollar. If you're starting from zero, the first thing you need to figure out is where your money is actually going. And I know tracking your spending isn't nearly as exciting as talking about stocks or becoming a millionaire, but investing won't fix bad money habits. Think about your finances like a bucket. Your income is the water going into the bucket, and your expenses are the water coming out. A few expenses are obviously necessary. You need somewhere to live, food to eat, transportation, utilities, and insurance. The problem is all the little leaks you barely notice, the subscriptions you forgot about, the food delivery because you didn't feel like cooking, the impulse purchase that was only $20, and the credit card payment that's quietly eating up part of every paycheck. One expense might not seem like a big deal, but stack enough of them together and suddenly you're wondering where your entire paycheck went. So here's what I want you to do. Pull up your bank and credit card statements from the last 30 days. Go through every single purchase and separate everything into three categories: things you need, things you actually value, and things you could have easily lived without. The goal isn't to make your life miserable. I don't want you sitting in the dark eating instant noodles because someone on the internet told you that's how you become rich. The goal is to find expenses that aren't making your life noticeably better, because every dollar you stop wasting becomes a dollar you can use to build your future. If you find $200 a month that you can redirect, that's $2,400 a year. And once we start investing that money consistently, those dollars can become much more valuable over time. But before we invest anything, we need to make sure one unexpected expense doesn't send you right back to zero. That's where your first financial safety net comes in. That financial safety net is your starter emergency fund. And when you're beginning at zero, you don't need to save 6 months of expenses overnight. That goal can feel so far away that you never even start. Your first target should be much smaller. Start by saving enough to handle a basic emergency without reaching for a credit card. For many people, a reasonable first target is between $500 and $1,000. That might not cover every emergency, but it can handle a flat tire, a minor car repair, an unexpected medical bill, or a broken appliance. And that small buffer can be the difference between staying on track and falling deeper into debt. Keep this money in a separate savings account. It should be easy to access when you truly need it, but it shouldn't be sitting in your everyday checking account where you can accidentally spend it. And don't invest your emergency fund in stocks, cryptocurrency, or anything else that could suddenly lose value. This money has one job. It needs to be safe and available when life goes wrong. Now we need to define what actually counts as an emergency. An emergency is urgent, necessary, and unexpected. A car repair you need so you can get to work is an emergency. Replacing a broken water heater is an emergency. Covering essential bills after suddenly losing work hours can be an emergency. A vacation is not an emergency. A new phone because yours feels outdated is not an emergency. And an annual bill that arrives at the same time every year isn't unexpected. That expense should eventually become part of your monthly budget. To build your starter fund, choose a weekly amount you can consistently save. Even $25 a week adds up to $1,300 over a year. You can speed things up by sending tax refunds, bonuses, cash gifts, or money from selling unused items directly into the account. The important part is to stop waiting for the perfect month to begin. There will always be another bill, another expense, or another reason to delay. Set up an automatic transfer for the day after you get paid. That way, saving happens before you have time to spend the money somewhere else. Once you reach your starter goal, leave the money alone. If a real emergency forces you to use it, that's exactly what it was built for. You didn't fail by spending it, the fund did its job. Your next job is simply to refill it as soon as possible. Once that first emergency buffer is in place, you can start attacking the financial problem that may be costing you the most money every month: high interest debt. Once you have that starter emergency fund, high-interest debt becomes the next target, because it's incredibly hard to build wealth when interest is working against you every single month. Credit cards are usually the biggest problem. If you're paying 20 or 25% interest on a balance, your money is fighting an uphill battle. Think about it this way. You could invest money and hope to earn a solid return over time. But if a credit card is charging you more than 20% interest, that debt is already costing you a massive amount. So before trying to become a stock market genius, start eliminating the guaranteed loss. First, make a list of every debt you have. Write down the balance, minimum payment, and interest rate for each one. Then continue making the minimum payment on every debt. After that, put every extra dollar you can toward one balance at a time. There are two popular ways to decide which debt comes first. The debt avalanche method attacks the debt with the highest interest rate first. Mathematically, this usually saves you the most money. The debt snowball method attacks the smallest balance first. That gives you quicker wins and can make it easier to stay motivated. Neither method matters if you quit after 2 months. Choose the strategy you can actually stick with. Personally, if the interest rates are dramatically different, I would lean toward the highest interest debt first. Every time you eliminate one balance, take the payment you were making on it and add that money to the next debt. That's when your progress starts accelerating. Imagine you're paying $200 a month toward one credit card. You finally pay it off. Don't suddenly treat that $200 like new spending money. Roll it directly into the next balance. Now you're attacking that debt with its normal payment plus the extra $200. When that debt disappears, you roll both payments into the next one. That's how debt payments start turning into a snowball. And while you're doing this, stop creating new high-interest debt. Paying down a card while continuing to charge new purchases to it is like trying to empty a bathtub while the faucet is still running. If you struggle with impulse spending, make the cards harder to use. Remove them from saved online payment methods. Take them out of your everyday wallet, and avoid using buy now, pay later plans just because the payment looks small. Small payments can still create a very large monthly obligation when you stack enough of them together. There is one important exception. Not every type of debt needs to be treated like an emergency. A low-interest mortgage or other manageable low-rate debt can be very different from a credit card charging extremely high interest. The goal isn't to become terrified of every dollar you owe. The goal is to eliminate the debt that's actively destroying your ability to build wealth. Because once those high interest payments disappear, something powerful happens. The money used to make lenders richer becomes money you can use to make yourself wealthier. And that's where we move from financial defense to financial offense. Now it's time to create more room between what you earn and what you spend. Now that high-interest debt is under control, we need to create more money that can actually build wealth. And this is where one simple number starts to matter a lot: the gap between what you earn and what you spend. If you make $4,000 a month and spend $3,900, you only have $100 left to work with. But if you can increase that gap to $500 or even $1,000, your entire financial situation starts changing faster. There are only two ways to make that gap bigger: spend less or earn more. And ideally, you eventually do both. Start with the spending side because that's usually the fastest thing you can control. Look at the expenses you identified earlier and find the ones that don't add much value to your life. Maybe you're paying for subscriptions you barely use. Maybe you're eating out more than you realized. Maybe convenience purchases have slowly become part of your normal routine. You don't need to cut everything. You need to cut the things you honestly wouldn't miss. But there is a limit to how much you can save. You can only cut your expenses so far before you start making your life miserable. Your income, on the other hand, has much more room to grow. That's why increasing your income can become one of the most powerful wealth-building moves you make. That could mean asking for a raise. It could mean applying for a better-paying job. It could mean learning a skill that makes you more valuable in the job market. Or it could mean starting a side income stream that brings in a few hundred extra dollars every month. And here's the important part: when your income goes up, don't automatically let your lifestyle grow with it. That's called lifestyle inflation. You get a raise, so suddenly you need a nicer car. You make more money, so your apartment gets more expensive, then your subscriptions grow, your restaurants get nicer, and somehow you're still living paycheck to paycheck. That's how people can double their income and still feel broke. Instead, decide ahead of time what you're going to do with your next raise. Maybe you allow yourself to enjoy 20% of it, but the other 80% goes toward investing, savings, or another financial goal. That way your life improves while your wealth grows at the same time. Let's say you increase your monthly income by $500. If you immediately spend all $500, nothing really changes. But if you invest $400 of it every month, that's $4,800 invested every year. And that's before any investment growth even happens. Now combine that with the money you freed up by eliminating high-interest debt. Suddenly, you may have hundreds of dollars every month that used to disappear into interest and unnecessary spending. That is the money that starts building your future. And once you've created that gap, don't leave the money sitting around waiting for you to spend it. Give it a job, because the next step is where we finally start putting your money to work. It's time to start investing. Now that you've created a gap between what you earn and what you spend, it's time to put that money to work. This is the point where wealth building really starts to accelerate. But investing does not need to be complicated. You don't need 10 monitors, complicated charts, or a list of hot stocks. For most people, boring and consistent can be extremely powerful. The first place I would look is your workplace retirement plan. If your employer offers a 401k match, consider contributing enough to receive the full match if your budget allows it. That matches additional money your employer contributes towards your retirement. After that, you can look at other tax-advantaged accounts such as a Roth IRA if you're eligible. The important thing is not memorizing every type of account right now. It's understanding that the account is just the container. You still need to choose what your money is actually invested in. And this is where a lot of beginners make investing harder than it needs to be. They start searching for the next company that's going to explode. They watch people online bragging about stocks that doubled. Then they feel like successful investing means constantly finding winners before everyone else does. It doesn't. Instead of betting your future on a handful of companies, you can spread your money across hundreds or even thousands of businesses. One of the simplest ways to do that is through a low-cost broad market index fund or ETF. Instead of trying to guess which company will dominate the next 20 years, you're buying a small piece of a large part of the market. That gives you diversification. If one company struggles, your entire financial future isn't tied to it. But understand something important. Investing still involves risk. The market will go down sometimes. Your account balance will fall. There will be scary headlines telling you everything is falling apart. That's normal. The biggest mistake beginners make is investing when everything feels exciting and selling when everything feels terrifying. That's backwards. Wealth is usually built by staying invested through both good markets and bad ones. Think in decades, not days. If you're investing money for retirement 20 or 30 years from now, what happens to the market next Tuesday probably isn't very important. What matters much more is how consistently you keep contributing. Let's say you can invest $300 every month. Some months the market will be expensive, other months prices will be lower, but you keep investing month after month, year after year. That consistency gives compound growth time to work. Your money can earn returns. Then those returns can potentially earn returns of their own. And over long periods of time, that compounding can become incredibly powerful. Another thing you need to watch is fees. A small fee might not look important today, but over decades, unnecessarily high investment fees can eat away at a meaningful amount of your returns. So keep things simple, stay diversified, keep costs reasonable, invest consistently, and stop checking your account every 5 minutes. You're not trying to win tomorrow, you're trying to build wealth for years. And the easiest way to stay consistent is to remove yourself from the process as much as possible. That's why the next step is to automate your wealth building. Now that you know where your money should go, the next step is making sure it actually gets there. Because relying on motivation every month is a terrible financial system. Some months you'll feel disciplined. Other months you'll want to spend the money. Automation removes that decision. Start by automating your retirement contributions through your paycheck if you have that option. That money can go toward investing before it ever reaches your checking account. Then set up automatic transfers for the other financial goals you're working toward. That could be your Roth IRA, it could be additional investing, it could be rebuilding your emergency fund. The point is to make building wealth happen automatically. Think of it like putting your financial plan on autopilot. You get paid, your bills get covered, your savings gets funded, your investments get purchased, and whatever is left is what you actually have available to spend. That's much better than spending first and hoping there's money left at the end of the month, because usually there isn't. You can also automate increases to your investments over time. Let's say you're investing $300 a month right now. Maybe every 6 months you increase that amount by $25 or $50. The increase might feel small, but over several years, your monthly contribution can become dramatically larger without one painful jump. Raises are another opportunity. Every time your income increases, automatically send part of that raise toward your investments. You can still enjoy some of the extra money. But don't let every raise disappear into a more expensive lifestyle. The same goes for bonuses, tax refunds, cash gifts, side income, and any unexpected money that comes your way. Before the money even arrives, decide what percentage is going toward your future. That removes the temptation to spend all of it. And here's another trick. Try to make your investing boring. You should not need to constantly check prices. You should not need to make a new decision every week. You should not be wondering whether today is the perfect day to invest. Your system should simply keep buying on schedule. That doesn't mean you completely ignore your finances. You should still review everything periodically. Maybe once every few months, check your accounts. Make sure your automatic transfers are working. Look at how much you're investing. Review your spending and decide whether you can increase your contributions. But your day-to-day wealth building should require very little effort. That's the real advantage of automation. It turns good financial decisions into your default behavior. And once the system is running, time becomes one of your biggest advantages. You stop trying to get rich from one lucky decision. Instead, you're building wealth through hundreds of small decisions happening automatically, paycheck after paycheck, month after month, year after year. And that's how a financial plan becomes a financial system. Now we can put everything together into the complete wealth building blueprint. Now let's put everything together. If you're starting from zero, your goal isn't to do everything at once. Your goal is to follow the right order. First, figure out where your money is going and stop the unnecessary leaks. Then build a starter emergency fund, so one unexpected expense doesn't force you back into debt. Next, attack the high-interest debt that's draining money from you every month. Once that's under control, create a bigger gap between what you earn and what you spend. Cut expenses that don't matter to you. Work on increasing your income and protect that extra money from lifestyle inflation. Then start investing. Keep it simple. Stay diversified. Keep your costs reasonable. And think in years and decades instead of days and weeks. After that, automate as much of the system as possible. Automate your savings. Automate your investments. And increase those contributions whenever your income grows. That's the blueprint. Earn money, keep more of it, protect yourself from emergencies, eliminate expensive debt, invest the difference, and repeat the process for years. It doesn't sound flashy, and that's exactly why it works. Building wealth usually isn't about finding one secret investment or making one perfect decision. It's about making good financial decisions consistently for a very long time. The first $1,000 might feel slow. The first 10,000 might feel slow, but eventually your savings, your investments, and your investment growth all start working together. That's when the snowball gets bigger. So if you're sitting at zero right now, don't focus on how far you still have to go. Focus on the next step. Take control of the first dollar, then the next one, then keep going. Because building wealth doesn't start when you become rich. Building wealth starts with what you do with the money you have today. If you want more simple strategies for building wealth, investing, saving money, and taking control of your finances, subscribe to Build Your Bank. And if you're starting your wealth building journey right now, leave a comment with the first step you're working on. I'll see you in the next one.